Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Monday, June 5th. They must let anybody in these meetings these days. I see a couple people crawling in the back there. So thank you for coming to the Board of Ed meeting. I appreciate it. I see a lot of students here tonight. Just a few housekeeping items up front. Keep an eye on that one over there, Matt. Just a few housekeeping here. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the School District of the Chatham Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the time, date, place thereof posted in the Board of Administrative offices, the Borough, the Chatham Borough, the Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and the TAP, or the Alternate Press. Mr. DeCole, would you mind doing roll call?
Sure. Mr. Gilfield.
Here.
Mr. Arnoff.
Here.
Ms. Ciccarelli. Ms. Clark. Mr. Connors. Ms. Sherman. Ms. Kenny.
Here.
Mr. Valenti.
Here.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
5 present in the council.
Excellent. If you're able, could you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. I don't have any additional board comments, president comments. We may have more to discuss during the finance section, but for now, I'm going to skip over that. And in the interest of time, go right to the superintendent's report. Dr. LaSousa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. We have 2 presentations this evening. I'll just touch on a couple of items before we get to those presentations. A couple of shout outs first off. I think everyone here knows that our baseball team just had a remarkable, nearly historic season probably since the district has been regionalized. And even though they came up a little bit short on Friday afternoon, it was still just a tremendous season, and it was great to see so many fans and so many spectators and people from the community packed behind the high school on Friday. So congratulations to them. Also this weekend, our academic team traveled to Washington, D.C., and they competed in a national tournament against 50 schools across the country. One of our teams, we had 2 teams representing Chatham High School, came in second in the entire tournament and had gone on a 6-0 run before they made it to the finals. So special kudos to the academic team. Number 3, I have to say, and I know the board members have heard it from me already, but the district-wide art show that took place last week was absolutely extraordinary. And it was the result of basically a year's worth of meetings and effort on the part of our art teachers, and of course all the contributions of our students, and a generous donation from the Chatham Education Foundation that we accepted here earlier this year. But if you didn't make it there, I believe were in excess of 1,000 people in attendance the first night alone. Wow. And the second night was equally well attended. There was representation from every single grade level in the district, from kindergarten right on up to our most talented high schoolers who had their own collections assembled. It was just one of the best events I've been to in my memory in Chatham. So congratulations to every person who was involved in that. Special thank you to the Chatham Education Foundation. Our 2 presentations tonight, one is a student presentation that is from the junior class seeking open campus for next year. And then we have Anthony Giacconi, assistant principal at the middle school, and Lori Gironda, assistant principal at the high school, who will do our annual discipline report that we present every year at this time. So I'll call up first the junior class officers and Mr. Groh, and then after you have a chance to ask them any questions, then we'll move on to the discipline report.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. Novak, I'm familiar with you, but when you guys come up, if you could introduce yourselves, that would be fantastic. Or if you could all introduce yourselves now, that'd be great.
Alrighty, so I'm Robert Novak, and I'm the vice president of the class.
I'm Robert Mortimer, and I'm the secretary of the class.
I'm William Sands, and I'm the treasurer of the class.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Critchley Weber. I am the secretary of communications.
And then, unfortunately, our president, Gavin Mays, was unable to come tonight. So, very sorry.
Gavin he's at church, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
I'm not sure. Oh,
confirmation? Or he's saving somebody's life because he's also an EMT?
that
And he's
too.
an Eagle Scout?
Yeah,
But he couldn't squeeze us in?
yeah. It's very busy.
I could see that.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. As representatives of the class of 2018, we'd like to petition you for the privilege of open campus. We recognize that open campus is a privilege, not a right, and we hope to demonstrate to you here today why we have earned this privilege. Our grade over the past 17 years has grown and matured as a student body. We have many members of the class who are Eagle Scouts, Gold Award recipients, or are involved in community service activities through other means. Many members of the class are part of NHS or Key Club, and even the people who are not part of these traditional service organizations are still making a positive impact on the community through other clubs such as Habitat for Humanity or John Taylor Babbitt. We also, this year, we had for NHS selections, we had over 25 people run for only 4 positions. And this shows that not only we're a class that's dedicated to doing service hours and helping the community, but that we are leading change in the community. In terms of academics, our grade has excelled. Many of our students are members of NHS, are on the honor roll or even the high honor roll. We take honors and AP classes, and we are balancing these difficult classes with other aspects of our life. With regard to the AP classes, almost all of our students are taking the AP exams, and we're demonstrating our excellence in the subjects by not only passing the AP exams, but by earning top scores. This trend is further reflected in our other standardized test scores, such as the SAT, ACT, or the subject tests. In addition to community service and academics, we also demonstrate talent on the stage. Many of the members in our class are either play an instrument, do chorus, or do theater. The junior members of these different organizations are all setting a positive impact for the freshman and sophomore members, and we're also representing not only our class, but the entire high school at events such as CPAC, the Governor's Award, or even on live TV or at Disney World. We recognize, or we believe that open campus is an integral part of the Chatham High School experience. Our education in the school districts of the Chathams has been characterized by the steady progression of additional freedoms and responsibilities, whether it be from having switch teachers in Lafayette, to walking to your own classes in the middle school, to choosing your own classes in the high school. We all believe that open campus is the next step in this progression, and that this additional freedom of being able to leave the school throughout the day will help us prepare for the flexibility of college. We recognize that this comes with the responsibility of not only making it back to class on time, but also of not abusing that privilege. We thank you for your time, and we hope that you'll grant us the honor of having open campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Don't go away, Weber. We always have questions. I see you starting to head out the door. There's a request from Mr. Gilfeld. Mr. Weber, can you please tell your classmates what that means in ASL?
Sit down and then pay attention.
And this means be careful, right?
Be careful.
Be careful. So you guys are extraordinary in the classroom, in the performing arts, in visual arts, in the community. Open campus is a responsibility. It's a privilege. In this instance, though, you have to go with responsibility beyond your academic training and beyond some of your extracurricular activities. You have to make sure you're keeping an eye on each other. Right? If Mr. Mays was here, I would ask him about his leadership in Scouts. They have they don't leave a man down. They see a guy in trouble, they help him out. So it is your responsibility as the class officers to ensure that if somebody's going astray, you lead them back. You help them out. You don't say, oh my gosh, he's going down the wrong path, and let him head that way. You see, one of your classmates, it's your responsibility. The 4 of you are standing here representing your class. So you are extraordinary in all of those endeavors that you've already proven yourself in. Now you've got one more avenue to keep an eye on each other. You're all driving, you're on the roads together, you're out having some social activities together. You need to branch out in your responsibleness. Is that fairly clear?
Yes, that's clear.
And you will
Yes,
do that?
absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions or?
Yeah, I'd like to say, as seniors of the class of the school next year, that you lead by example and adhere to the traffic patterns and adhere to the speed limits, especially on Longwood Avenue. And there's lots of cars always parked and lots of construction and other things kind of happening. So if you could make sure that you tell your classmates to be careful driving.
And if you have to sign it to them and you don't want to say it, you go peace sign, you go like that. That's be careful in American Sign Language. I would like to hear from Mr. Groh, if that would be okay, what his thoughts are on this particular class.
As Mr. Grill makes his way, let me just say that was the most thorough opening statement for open campus I've ever heard. That was a great job, great preparation.
I do think Robert covered it all and then some. We've been very fortunate at the high school to have the open campus privilege since I've been here for the 13 years. I think it is the right next step as far as providing the freedom and responsibility and opportunity for kids to kind of step up and prepare as they go forward. I would tell you that the community is very cognizant about reaching out to the high school if our students are doing things during school hours outside that they know we wouldn't want them doing and it's not a good representation. And we deal with the students that maybe get in that situation. Most of the time that doesn't happen twice, which I think leads to exactly what it should be, which is a learning experience, to have some freedom, have some responsibility, and make the right decisions. The senior class, or the upcoming senior class of 2017 has been outstanding in all areas, and fortunately so have the classes that have come before them. So certainly the bar is as high for open campus as it is for the courses that the kids choose to take. So I'm fully confident that they can fulfill their responsibility, represent themselves, their class, our school, and the community in a positive way, and we would deal with any situation where we needed to do one of these.
That's right.
So I support them.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Novak, you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Very, very well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you very much.
All right, now I'll invite up to the center of the room Lori Gironda and Anthony Giaconio.
Good evening, Dr. D'Souza, Board of Education members, and members of the community. On behalf of Mrs. Gironda and myself, we'd like to present to you some current trends that we've noticed at CMS and CHS in terms of discipline this year. And I'd like to begin by just highlighting some key trends. At CMS, you'll notice that although the percentage of students with any disciplinary infractions was small this year relative to the size of the student body, some of the incidents required a more significant disciplinary response, and you'll notice that as we go through the slides. Recess and bus behavior have been a focus at CMS. In particular, recess behavior, the students were playing a bit too rough on Haas Field. Some of them making inappropriate comments, not listening to instructions that were issued inside of the cafeteria. In regards to bus behavior, students were being a bit disruptive on the buses at times, playing a bit too rough and making inappropriate comments, and which, as you can imagine, would become a safety issue while the bus is in motion. Together, these two categories amounted to a number of discipline and HIB incidents at CMS this year. And in addition to that, comments of a religious nature have become a recurring focus at CMS. I'll now turn over to Mrs. Gironda.
So at Chatham High School this year, we saw some positive trends in terms of discipline, and I will be talking about that in a future slide, but some of this I really attribute to our use of updated protocols, such as bag checks, and also the use of the passive alcohol breath sensor to address substance use concerns at events such as homecoming and proms. One thing that was more negative that we noticed at the high school this year is an increase in vaping. And just to explain what this is, because some people are not real clear on that, this right here is an example of a vape pen. If you take a look at it, it almost looks like a thumb drive or something. So if parents were to notice this in a student's backpack, they may not think anything of it. But this is something that we've seen an increase in use on the part of our students. And actually, it goes along with the student health survey that was recently done this year, noted that 10% of students had used a vape pen or an e-cigarette within the past 30 days. So, and another finding from that student health survey is that students don't see a real negative consequence in using the vape pens. So, at Chatham High School, we are really trying to up the education in terms of the consequences of using vape pens on health, but also, apply consequences in terms of discipline at school. And then the last key trend that I have here is that we continue to focus on chronic absenteeism, which amounts to 2 or more absences per month, which would mean 20 absences over the course of the 10 months of the year. And we do this through applying our attendance procedures, applying discipline, and also provisional credit or loss of credit where it applies.
Lori, before you get off the
Sure.
vape topic, sorry.
Yep.
I believe you had told us in the committee meeting, some of those jewels, the amount of nicotine in them is equivalent to...
Yeah, the amount of nicotine, I mean, it really differs because
Right.
some students are using this without any nicotine in it. It's just flavored liquid.
Okay.
And then other students are using it with nicotine. And unfortunately, people can also fill these with things that are not any of the above. They could put in different kinds of oils, which could actually have THC in them, for example. So this really is something that we, in the school community, and I think in the parent community also, need to really pay some attention to.
Okay, thank you.
The next couple of slides here are just some examples of infractions that might occur at the high school, as well as the typical discipline that is associated with them. There's a range of discipline that goes all the way from just keeping an incident on file to giving a warning to could be a teacher detention, central detention, Saturday school, suspension, or, as a measure of last resort, expulsion. But that really doesn't usually occur. As you can see from this slide, this year our student enrollment went up about 50 students over last year, but our total number of incidents showed a sharp decrease actually this year. Last year at about this time we had 364 incidents, and this year 202. The number may have gone up slightly since the slide was made, but we definitely had a decrease in the number of incidents this year. If we take a look at the number of students with 1 or more incidents, there were 116 unique individuals who had 1 or more incidents, as opposed to last year 180 at this time. We had 8 students this year with 5 or more incidents. Of those 8, 7 had between 5 and 10, and only 1 had above 10, somewhere 11 or above. No students had 20 or more incidents. Taking a look at our suspensions, we had 7 students who had 1 or more out-of-school suspensions this year. And if you take a look at that compared to the previous year's data, it's a pretty sharp decline. And this is what I was referring to in terms of our updated procedures with the passive alcohol breath sensing device and the bag checks. Because last year we did have 7 students who were identified at extracurricular events as having been under the influence, leading to actually 28 days of out-of-school suspension, whereas this year we had 0 students who were identified at extracurricular events. So it was a very sharp decline. Of the 7 students, 3 had 2 or more suspensions. Taking a look at our data broken down by gender and grade, interestingly, the data came out very similar this year in terms of the male-female breakdown, with about 77% of the incidents having been committed by males and about 22-23% by females. In terms of the grade distribution, this year our freshman class was relatively well behaved, 15% of the incidents committed by them, and then the percentages went up slightly after that for grades 10, 11, and 12. Now, the incidents that I talked about previously were all discipline type incidents. We've separated our incidents into discipline type and file type. Discipline type incidents are really kind of blatant disregard for the rules, things like insubordination, cutting class, smoking, leaving campus without permission, whereas file type infractions are things that really have more of an effect on the individual who is doing them than on others in the school. These would be things like arriving late to school, arriving late to class, not signing in properly to study hall, for example, or failing to follow procedure. For example, if a student is absent and they don't follow up with a note right away from a parent, that could be an example of failure to follow procedure. So we had 420 incidents of this type on record, committed by about 258 students. And really, this is kind of where, when I mentioned about attendance and chronic absenteeism or tardiness, this is really where this fits in. So it's something that we are still working on. Students who do arrive late to school and late to class, which really comprise a lot of those 420 incidents, they are assigned discipline. We assign detentions at different benchmarks. We may assign Saturday schools, and their excessive absenteeism or tardiness may result in provisional credit and eventually loss of credit. And then the final piece that I wanted to mention in this part of the presentation is about academic integrity. This is something that the faculty really thinks is very important to take a look at. With the increase in the use of technology in the building, there have been more opportunities in different ways for students to collaborate, but more opportunities for academic integrity to be challenged. So the faculty has met on this. We're discussing additional ways to address it. We see here the number of reported cheating incidents this year was 27, but there is some work that we as a faculty need to do on defining what constitutes cheating and then the best ways really to address that. And I will pass over to Mr. Giaconia.
Thank you. Okay, so at the middle school, we also have our typical infractions and methods of dealing with them. Typical discipline roughly ranges from something along the lines of, say, a lunch detention to up to and including suspensions, depending on the infraction of the rules. This year we had a increase of about 35 students at CMS, and our number of incidents rose by 19. So we had a slight increase in the total number of incidents at the middle school. There were 55 students with one incident this year, accounted for 5% of the total population. As you can see, the number of students with two incidents rose to previous levels. It went from 6 to 16, accounts for 1.5% of the entire student population. The good news is, though, that students with 3 to 4 incidents, that dropped in half from 11 to 6. And we had one student who committed 5+ incidents this year. At the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that some of the incidents this year resulted in more significant disciplinary consequences, and this is what I'm referring to. As you can see, our suspensions rose from 8 to 17 this year, 1.6% of the student body. This amounted to about 33 days worth of suspensions throughout the year. Luckily, though, as you can see, nobody reoffended, so anybody who was suspended did not get suspended again. The breakdown by male versus female and grade level. As you can see, again, counting that when we consider there's 116 discipline type incidents in all, the males, as you can see, accounted for most of the offenses, 93.1, females at 6.9. Sixth grade, roughly almost a quarter, 23.3. Seventh grade is approaching that half mark, 43.1, and eighth grade is at about a third of the incidents this year, 33.6. We also have file type incidents or infractions that we take into account the middle school. We had 26 of them this year. These include information on HIB targets, background information on student conduct, and excessive tardies. In regards to the latter, we've tried we are in the process of trying to get the number of tardies to school down. As a result of that objective, we've implemented a progressive set of consequences based on the number of tardies that students have. So you can see some of the consequences here. They begin at 8 tardies. So we begin with letters being sent home to parents via the parent portal. I'll meet with the students, see if there's anything that is causing them to be late, if it's just a matter of, hey, I just can't wake up on time, versus I have a little brother and sister and they have to be dropped off first, or, it takes them a while to get out of the house. So we talk about that. I let the parents know about the excessive tardies as well through emails, and if need be, detentions are handed out to students who have, again, excessive tardies. This is something that we are continuing to work on. We will continue to work on next year. And I'll hand it back to Mrs. Dronda.
Okay, so now we're going to be covering the HIB data, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, to compare last year to this year. Last year at the high school, we did 18 investigations in total, 15 of which were actually confirmed to be HIB, and 12 of those were committed by 9th grade students. So it was very heavy on the freshman class. 3 students among all that were involved reoffended. This year, there have been 16 investigations so far, including 2 that are currently in progress. 7 of them have been confirmed HIB to date, and they were committed by 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 2 juniors, and a senior. So it's a little bit more evenly spaced out among the classes. We've had no repeat offenders, which is good news. And in terms of the identifying characteristics that were involved in these confirmed HIBs, 2 of them dealt with physical characteristics of the target, 1 of them a physical disability of the target, 3 sexual orientation, and 1 dealt with religion. And in terms of strategies that we use to address HIB and to kind of educate students on the importance of respect and acceptance, we do celebrate the Week of Respect, which is the first week in October. We have our Challenge Day program, which this year took place in January. And then just a couple of weeks ago, we had another Week of Respect, a little bit different, where we invited students from ECLC school in Chatham to come to the high school and to interact with our Teens Connecting with Teens Play Unified group. They came for lunch. They actually shadowed them. They shadowed our students for a couple of their classes. And one really great event was a big kickball game that we had out the back of the school during lunch one of the days. So it was really nice for kind of increasing the awareness of differences and respect for others. We do implement remedial measures for students who are involved in HIB incidents, including counseling, and we continue to include topics relating to acceptance and respect in various aspects of our curriculum.
Okay, so at CMS, the number of investigations from last year to this year went from 33 to 35 investigations. We had 3 more confirmed acts of HIB this year. Of those 17 confirmed acts of HIB, 15 of the 17 involved verbal comments, and 2 of the 17 involved electronic communication. As you can see, the one big difference, though, is we had 0 students who reoffended last year Unfortunately, we had 5 students who reoffended this year, which means at some point in their Chatham school careers, they had a previous HIB incident, whether it be at the middle school or one of the elementary schools, and they received an additional HIB violation this year. In terms of the identifying characteristics, here is a list of the motivational factors behind the HIBs. Now you'll notice the ones with the star, some of the HIB offenses this year had multiple identifying characteristics, which means, for instance, perhaps disability and race were both motivating factors in one HIB case. Religion, however, stood by itself 5 times. Race, as you can see, was a factor 6 times. 2 of those 6 times, though, it was part of another HIB offense with multiple identifying characteristics. Sexual orientation, reputation was 3. Again, that's part of a HIB offense with multiple identifying characteristics. Disability 1, physical appearance 5, and the rest of them, socioeconomic status, state of origin, cultural background, and family status all accounted for 1 this year. Now, in terms of addressing HIB at CMS, we do a number of things both in and out of the classroom. There are mandatory remedial measures for any students who are found to have committed an HIB offense. That includes follow-up with guidance counselors and/or case managers to address the underlying issue that caused the behavior. We have assemblies presented on the theme of respect and tolerance throughout the year that are arranged by the school safety team and the PTO. We have international days in the cafeteria to promote cultural tolerance. This year we had Chinese cuisine served during Chinese New Year, Irish cuisine served during St. Patrick's Day, Mexican cuisine served during Cinco de Mayo. We have Week of Respect activities as well. This year the students wrote up they wrote up poems and stories about what respect means to them. They wrote up biographies of people that they admired and why they admired them, and we chose some to read over the morning announcements, CMS and the AM, and they became our public service announcements throughout the year. We've had the students also design projects, artwork that we have posted around the school, upstairs and downstairs, and that has been hanging up throughout the year as well. There are anti-bullying pledges. These are basically reminders of the expectations that we have for students, and they are posted around the school. We have a student shout-out box, which gives teachers and/or students the opportunity to recognize other students for acts of good citizenship. We have a Friday morning music program that is coordinated by Miss Emma, our SAC, and she starts our Fridays off with positive, upbeat songs to put the students in a good mood for the day. And we also have our Acceptance Alliance, which is also coordinated by Miss Emma. It's a club for students who are interested in making CMS a more accepting place in terms of diversity. As for in the classroom, we have a number of ways that we are addressing cultural tolerance, acceptance, respect. In ELA, students will discuss literature relating to the Holocaust, diversity, and racial prejudices. In 6th grade, they discuss books on the Holocaust and literature circle. Some of those books include Island on Bird Street, The Man from the Other Side, and The Boy in the Wooden Box. And the 6th grade ELA teachers also invite a Holocaust survivor in to speak to the class about his experiences. In 7th grade, the students discuss the themes of racial prejudices. One example is they read the story One Friday Morning by Langston Hughes. And they also discuss the idea of social status in groups by reviewing The Outsiders. In 8th grade, they discuss the themes of disability when they talk about Of Mice and Men, and racial prejudices when they discuss To Kill a Mockingbird. In our social studies courses, we cover global awareness and civics. In regards to civics, there's a heavy emphasis on civil rights and the idea of civic responsibility on the parts of the students. In our cycle classes, we have argument and debate, where the students learn to listen to and be accepting of other people's opinions. 7th grade, we have digital footprints, where the students learn how to behave in an appropriate and respectful manner online. Holocaust studies, the students discuss the choices that were made by people and nations during the Holocaust, and the teachers will discuss what it means to be an upstander versus a bystander, and how their decisions can affect others. In terms of the arts and music, the students will explore works of art and music from different cultures throughout different times throughout the year. We have a course in 8th grade called Transcending the Cultural Divide, where the students explore pottery from different cultures. They will create Oaxacan sculptures of Mexican origin. They'll create African masks, and they'll compare those masks to masks that we wear in our modern age, such as wedding veils and football helmets and graduation attire, to demonstrate that we're all similar, we're all connected. In music, the students perform songs on the themes of cultural tolerance and acceptance and respect. At our spring concert, the 6th grade chorus performed a Lebanese folk song, and the message of that folk song was, "We are all friends together." At the spring concert, the 7th and 8th grade chorus performed African songs, and the orchestra played and discussed songs on Martin Luther King Day on the theme of tolerance. Moving forward, I'd like to include next year an educational piece for students and parents at the beginning of the year. Mr. Trebor and I are already starting to make plans to get into every we're trying to pick either social studies or science class at the beginning of the year and have a brief discussion with the students about HIP policies and procedures and being respectful to others. As far as the parents, I plan on making some sort of a video that we could play perhaps at back to school night while the parents are in their first period classes, and it'll do this, hopefully it'll achieve the same objective to go over HIP policies and procedures, and hopefully it will help the parents or prompt the parents to have a discussion with their children early on in the year about the idea of being respectful to their fellow peers and being respectful to the teachers and everybody they encounter at CMS.
Will that be just for the 6th grade class, or did you plan on doing it for all 6th through 8th?
The parent?
No, the going into the classrooms.
Every class, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
And then for the parents?
Parents, back to school night, I was planning on, again, making some sort of possibly a video combined with a presentation that I already have that's online.
Okay.
Maybe just putting some words to it, recording my voice, and then playing that for the parents to kind of, again, give them an idea of our policies and procedures and how they can possibly help us out during the year. Okay.
I'm very happy to see you being proactive in terms of education for next year, because we see this trend in HIB incidents, especially in the middle school.
Absolutely.
So it's great to see you taking a proactive role in that. I think I just want to add something. It may not be the opinion of others here on the board, but the school can do so much to educate our children and to teach them right from wrong. A lot of it has to be done at home. When kids go to University of Virginia, they have to sign an honor code, and in a lot of universities they have to do that. Washington College, maybe it's something that all the any student in Chatham should be signing off that they understand what HIB is and what it means, and signing on a be nice policy or an honor policy, and just the act of signing that with parents will give them a chance to talk and educate themselves about these challenges we're experiencing.
Definitely. I mean, it's worth it if we can form a partnership. All of us, the students, the schools, the parents, and all be on the same page. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also need to remind folks, while this is a discipline report, out of 1,247 students at the high school, Lori talked about 16 HIB incidents. Out of almost 1,100 students, you're talking about 35, and I'm certainly not minimizing any of those. But the percentage of discipline events that happen at the schools, we're very lucky. They're extremely low, and they're often one-time occurrences where some of it's developmental. And again, I'm not minimizing it, and I agree with Sal that it needs to get extreme attention, but we're also very lucky that the student body is very responsible and very respectful. But because the numbers are so low, it's 1% of the student body, which is phenomenal. Some districts don't have that advantage that we have.
Absolutely.
Mike, did you have anything? No? Mr. Gilfillan? Lori, if you could, and I apologize if I asked this before in the previous meeting, the vaping obviously concerns me, because you've mentioned that you've seen such an increase. Can you tell us, is that concentrated in one particular grade or one particular group of students?
That's a very good question, and unfortunately, it's not concentrated in a particular grade. We've seen it across all grades, including freshmen, some of whom are 14 years old. And, it's just something that has, I would say, changed the culture of the school a little bit. We don't want to ever get to a point where students feel uncomfortable going into a certain area of the building because they see people doing things that they should not be doing. But, unfortunately, when students start doing things like vaping, if it becomes concentrated in certain areas of the building, then that can make it uncomfortable for others. So, we really have tried to address that.
Okay.
Is vaping have the same as a smoking age? Is it the same 18? Is there...
To purchase?
These things are non-tobacco products. So the vape could
I believe you have to be 18 to actually purchase one. Yeah.
You have to be 18.
I don't know that actually smoking one under the age of 18 is illegal, just as with cigarettes, same type of thing. But to purchase, I believe you have to be 18. Although I think I read that they were thinking about raising the age to purchase in New Jersey.
They're expensive. I don't have $50 in my wallet right now. Especially not when I was 15. And again, you're seeing it across various groups. The athletes,
Various
the
groups.
performing arts, the visual arts,
Correct.
the chorus. It's
Correct.
not concentrated in any particular...
It is not concentrated. It's the athletes, it's the theater and performing arts, it's the, academic students and students who are interested in other things, yeah. It really is across all groups.
And is the only way to turn the tide just additional vigilance, or...
Well, I hope that, I know there's not a huge number of parents here, but maybe people are watching at home, and I hope that it maybe encourages at least a couple of parents to check out what their students have, and if they do see something that looks somewhat...
Like a USB drive?
Like a USB drive, but longer, with an end that comes off and has some liquid in it, that they ask some questions. Because this is something that, as parents, we are not all that familiar with unless it's put right in your face. So, I hope that this is kind of raising a little bit of awareness for a couple of people.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? No? Thank you very much. It was very...
Thank you.
A great presentation, very thorough.
Thanks.
Thank you for your hard work. Year's almost over. Mike, did you have additional items that you wanted to report on? I can keep talking to give you time to get back to your chair.
I'll just thank Lori and Anthony for a thorough job and for all the work they do over the course of the year. When the year closes out officially, then we have to submit a full report to the Department of Education, and we will have that on an agenda that just specifies the number of investigations, number of incidents at each school. For the purpose of this presentation, we only include the middle school and high school because that's where 99% of our incidents take place. And then I'll just mention, Lori referenced the student health survey that's posted on the main page of our website right now. And I gave a talk 2 weeks ago that included some information about student wellness and the health survey also, and that presentation in video form is available on the front page of our website also.
Was that the one at the middle school?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it for my report.
And the full results, are they available or just your summary?
The PDF of the entire survey is available, separate and apart from the video presentation.
Okay. That was it. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Dr. LaSousa? On the enrollment? No, go ahead, yeah, bring it, now would be a good time.
So Pete, on this report, the enrollment, can we use on the bottom, you had the total of 2016 and the difference? And then I see the 8th grade class is at 380. Has it always been that high?
Oh, yeah, that's our biggest.
And we, in our plans, we've accounted for the fact we're going from like 1,200 to over 1,400 students at Chatham High School.
That was the addition.
That's a big change here. And then do we also, any students trying to pay at this stage, since the high school's already pretty much it's busting, are we still accepting paid students into that?
We haven't accepted tuition students in several years, unless there's been some extenuating circumstance, like a student whose 2 siblings had been permitted to come here or was already in the system.
Okay.
You're good? Oh, no, no worries. So moving on, Mike, you're done, right?
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Moving on to the Business Administrator's Report, Mr.
Yes,
DeQuilla?
thank you. I just want to do a brief construction update. For the referendum project, Cougar Field, Phase 1 and 2, the contractor should be starting this week on all phases, and unfortunately, we have closed the entire complex to residents and students so that the contractor can have full reign to work on all aspects of the project.
Hold on. The field is closed?
Yes,
I thought we were going to have access to that over some portions of it.
for right now, the
For right
whole
now.
complex is closed
Just
because
until
according to Bill Cabrera, none of the Chatham High School athletes need the field.
Okay,
We have 2 people that have to do some training, and we will find a spot for them to work.
okay.
But all the other teams are done.
Yeah, no, I understand. At one point, though, we were saying that it could be accessed.
We
where-
want to give the contractor free rein, and hopefully he will be able to work on the walking path around the upper grass field. And once he's done with that, we should be able to allow access to the grass field, but not via the fence in the parking lot. So the
Okay.
parking lot will be one of the last pieces.
It's
You will
okay, I
then
was-
move to work on back Cougar, and, then hopefully we can keep extending use. But for
Use.
right now, he needs everybody out of the way so he can work.
That's fine. And the last piece is going to be the parking reconfiguration,
Or the final touches to the parking will be one of the last pieces, so that he doesn't have to redo anything if he needs to move equipment in and out.
Okay, and possibly my last question. The bleachers, are they currently in fabrication?
Yes, they are. They're waiting on confirmation of the delivery date. But he's gonna start doing all the prep work of dismantling the current bleachers and installing all of the supports and pads necessarily, so as soon as they're ready, the new bleachers can be installed.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Could I just,
Yeah.
do we send something out to all the parents to let them know Cougar Fields are closed so that parents, students, everybody knows that you can't access that for the next,
No, the gate is closed.
so I guess you just.
I mean, I can,
Well, they'll
I'll
find
post
out
on the
when they get
Yeah, I
website.
guess no.
They'll find out.
Thing in Wally World.
I guess they'll find out when they get there.
Sorry,
Okay.
guy, park's closed.
Sorry, Pennsylvania's closed today.
Moose out front, I told you.
So you'll keep us posted? And who's the
The contractor doing both Phase 1 and Phase 2 is Catcourt.
point person? You?
Myself or John Cataldo, it's
Oh,
fine.
you or John? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
For the middle school interior alterations, which will be altering the classrooms around the auditorium, the asbestos tile abatement will begin Monday, June 26th, and the contractor, GPC, will be able to start work the week of July 3rd. And they're anticipated to work on that classroom reconfiguration up until the middle of August.
Okay,
That is goes in with aligning the classrooms at the middle school in a better configuration for when we have the STEM edition.
okay. And those classrooms will come back online in the fall, in
Yes,
September?
the target is for all the construction done in August, so they can be reset up for the fall.
Okay, great.
On the Southern Boulevard School front office relocation, the contractor Triform is going to start on Monday, June 26th. He has submitted a very aggressive schedule. We'll be very happy if he's done the second week in August.
Okay.
From the referendum work for the roofs at the high school, middle school, and Lafayette, the contractor is scheduled to work on the roofs that Monday, June 26th. So we'll have a very busy day once school is out, and he should be finished by August, barring very unusual weather conditions. So
And where do
that
they
should be-
stage their equipment? Is that a pitch roof or is it a rubber?
They are flat roofs. They just work different spots in the parking lots or next to the school.
Okay,
They don't take up that much space. The hardest part is when the debris comes off the roof.
okay. The defenestration?
And the biggest aspect on the referendum update for the high school auditorium, the district's opened bids on June 1st, and unfortunately, all bids exceeded the funds available for the project. The district has met with the architect today, and I had conversations with him last week. The plan is that we're going to go out and rebid the project so that we can open the bids in September, October, and have the construction start in January. And we're very confident that when the contractors are not as busy, which summertime is their busiest time of doing any schoolwork, we should have much better pricing, and the auditorium would then be under construction from January to approximately July or August, and then ready for the fall of 18 for the academic year for all the high school students. That's all I have, barring any other questions.
I don't have any other questions. Although I guess if it's that much of a cost savings, I think we should look ahead for the middle school auditorium to do it during their off-season as well, if it's going to save significant funding.
We will use this as a learning
Yeah.
experience. The other two projects that will be coming up next, or the other projects, would be the Milton Edition and the Middle School STEM Edition, and both of those, the construction is planned to start in September or October, so that should work.
Right.
And as well with the new administration building would be a September, October timeframe. So
Okay.
hopefully that is very helpful in
in the
the
bidding.
cost that we get.
Thank you, Peter, I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. DeQuilla on any of the construction projects? No? Seeing none? Okay. Excellent. We're going to move on to committee reports. Ms. Chigarelli is not here. Ms. Kenny, are you filling in?
I am.
Thank you.
We met before this meeting and we discussed the state of negotiations for the administrators and the central office support staff. We also reviewed some stipends offered under the teachers agreement.
Okay.
And then I'm going to jump into curriculum and from Michelle Clark. We met last week and we reviewed the Gifted and Talented program and what it will look like for next year. And we also previewed the disciplinary report that was presented tonight.
Excellent.
And I'm not sure when our next meeting is.
Neither of those are coming up. I think finance is next. Does anybody have any questions on any of those items? No? Seeing none? Mr. Gilfillan on finance and facilities?
We have not met. We meet on June 19th.
June 19th? Okay. And policy and planning, Mr. Connor is not here. They have not met though, have they? Has policy met?
No, they and curriculum meet on the 14th.
The 14th, okay. Thanks, Jim. Liaison reports, Mr. Connors is not here, Ms. Clark is not here. Athletic boosters, that meeting is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the Chatham High School Media Center, so if you can, please come out and join. I think it's the last meeting of the year. So if you can, again, they do a tremendous amount of fundraising for the school district. Chatham Performing Arts, you have the report, right, Sal? Yeah. Mr. Arnoff will give that report.
Ms. Weber, there's a lot on this report, so I'm going to just power through it pretty quickly. I hope you don't mind. First of all, our students returned safely from the Disney trip. They've had a spectacular time. There's so many district staff members and chaperones that I need to thank. Adam McGree, Ken Bryson, Brian Conti, Lori DiBiase, Barb Fatecos, Lori Gironda, Crystal Grazer, Erin Kalea, Caitlin Kalea, Barbara Klemp, James Miller, Nelson Montoya, Tim Morton, Veronica Shaw, Doug Walker. I'm sure there are others. I left them out. But the Disney trip was a great success. The marching band, despite the rain, they led a downtown parade down Main Street to cheers of thousands in Magic Kingdom. And it was also very educational because on the Saturday portion of the trip, each ensemble actually experienced 2.5-hour workshops with Disney cast members with everything from soundstage, and they did this in Epcot, so it was really a real-life learning and educational experience, and I'm sure they all appreciate it. Moving on, the Paper Mill Rising Star Awards take place tomorrow, June 6th, and we want to point out that Neil McCaffrey, Stephanie Cooperman, and Julie Edwards are among high school talented nominees, in addition to an honorable mention for Jacob Feeney. Additionally, Lafayette School concerts are going to be held outside on the evenings of June 14th and 15th at 7 p.m. And audience members are asked to bring a lawn chair or blanket to enjoy the summer sounds of our fourth and fifth grade bands, choruses, and orchestras. In the event of rain, those concerts are going to be held in the Chatham High School A and B gyms. And you stole my thunder with the district art show. It was really amazing. I did attend briefly the second night. I would like to point out that if anyone is on Facebook, they can go to the Chatham Education Foundation page, who's been posting pictures from the event, and the pictures and photos from each grade level are really remarkable. So if you didn't get a chance to experience it in person, please visit the Chatham Education Foundation website on Facebook, and you'll see those pictures. Finally, Chatham Performing Arts Club had their Spring Talent Show this past Friday evening, where we were treated to James Hadley's Chopin Waltz Number 14. Claire Latino performed an original composition on guitar, and we were treated to the jazz band, of which my daughter is a member of, performing as well. So that was a really successful event. That was a mouthful. Ms. Weber, thanks for letting me power through.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. I did attend the art show. It took me a while to find a parking spot because it was so packed when I arrived there, about a half hour into the show opening. So that was good news. And the Disney trip, I spoke to one young man who plays, I think the trumpet, but I said, oh, how'd it go? I was driving to school one day. Oh, it was great. He goes, well, we really stunk. And then the guy worked with us, and we sounded pretty good. And what they did is they show a piece of the Frozen movie, and then they conduct the piece, or they play to the soundtrack, and they get to do it over and over again, and they tweak things, and then they get to see it, improve exponentially with each performance. And each time the professional conductor tweaked something, they were amazed at how much better they got with just slight changes on how you use the cymbal or how you held a note. And again, I'm not musical, but just this kid's explanation on, the mile drive to the high school, he was really, you could tell he was just lit up about it, Again, he started with, well, we kind of stunk at first, but then we got really, really good. So I thought it was neat. They had a great time, and the kids were well behaved, and they had a fun trip, right?
Yes,
As far as you know.
as far as I know.
Need to know basis. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Arnoff. I appreciate that thorough report. Moving over to the Chatham Education Foundation, Ms. Kenny.
Yes, as mentioned earlier, the art show was a tremendous success, and it was primarily sponsored by CEF. The spring appeal letter went out to all the households in town, and if you haven't given already, we ask that you consider doing so at this time. And also CEF is in the midst of its teacher tribute campaign as a way to say thank you to teachers at year end. CEF will deliver a chocolate bar with a message for a suggested donation of $10 to $15 per teacher. This is a great way to recognize a teacher and to give back. The last day to order is June 12th.
Excellent. Thank you. I think CEF donated over $11,000 toward the art show, one of their largest grants ever, so that was fantastic. Mr. Gilfillan, anything for recreation?
Nothing to report.
Nothing. And Ms. Cronin for the district cabinet?
No, they're meeting Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, perfect. Then I would like to, we're almost at the public commentary session, just bear with us one moment. I'd like to make a motion to move just the public session meetings for May 15th.
Awesome.
Right, Peter, I'm not doing the private, just public session. Mr. Gilfillan, second that. Was everybody here?
Just a reminder, Mr.
I have to
Marks
abstain.
and
Me
Ms.
too.
Cronin are not there.
But
So
do we have enough?
the minutes from May 15th?
Then we don't have enough.
We don't have enough.
24.
4 out of 6.
Oh, then we have plenty. So then, of the four of us, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Oh, the majority of who's sitting here, okay. Yeah, I was with you, Ken, with the numbers.
Okay.
So that passed
402, thank you.
402, thank you. Excellent. So we have our first opportunity for public commentary. If this is your first time here, if you wouldn't mind just approaching the microphone. If you could sign in and introduce yourself, that would be fantastic. And then right after the public commentary, we move on to the agenda, and then there's a second opportunity for public commentary. If something strikes your interest or you
Hi.
see something of note in the agenda.
I'm Julie Yarborough. I am a mother of a sophomore at the high school and a seventh grader at CMS. My son went on the Disney trip as well, and I'd just like to shout out to Mrs. Fortakos, the nurse from Lafayette who went as a chaperone. There were a lot of kids who got sick, and she did an outstanding job of taking care of them. Sorry, I'm just a little nervous. I'm surprised, actually.
Oh, thank you.
But the primary reason I wanted to stand up here tonight is because although the HIB incidents, the HIB incidents at the schools are very low this percentage-wise, they're still rather disturbing to me and to many of the people in our community. I'm glad to hear about the procedures that are being taken, particularly the curriculum that's being taught in our schools. I think that the more we can learn about each other, the more we can learn about different cultures and customs and religions, the better. And I forgot to mention that in addition to being a mother of kids in the school system, I'm also a pastor at Christ Church in Summit, New Jersey. And I love the idea of forming partnerships with parents and students and teachers and the administration and the school board, but I also want to offer my support as a clergy person. I'm sure there are other clergy in the area who would be more than happy to form a partnership with the schools to help think about ways that we might be able to decrease the incidence of the HIV incidents in the schools.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Julie. You're nervous here and you stand above a pulpit? That's
I'm used to public speaking, but it's a little intimidating standing here in front of you, so thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Julie, for stepping up. We can't be that intimidating.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think we're as intimidating as, you know.
Oh,
that's a little bit
yeah,
more.
that's, yeah, really, that would make me a little more nervous.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Amy Coates from the township. I just wanted to report on the latest Chatham Education Foundation grants from the month of May. We are giving the school board a check for a total of $9,357.02 for after the May meeting for the following grants, which were brought by different teachers. The first one was engaging students with big books from Washington Avenue School first grade teachers. The second grant was for a quiet recess zone at the Washington Avenue School to play games and more quiet activities outside during recess. The third one was for classroom pedal desks, also at Washington Avenue School. And the fourth one was for a study of Mozart at Chatham High School and the Lafayette School, which will surely bring a great enrichment to the music programs there.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy, again, for the hard work and the donation each month. Thank you very much.
Jane, you've been on vacation or something?
Yeah, I know, we missed you.
You're missing in action.
Oh, I was taking a program at my local faith base.
It wasn't about homework, was it?
No. Jane Devlin, Chatham Township. Well, I wasn't going to bring up homework, but since you brought it up, I do need to...
He didn't bring it up.
I do need to remind this school district administrations and the Board of Education to continue to keep it on the radar as you work on policy, procedures, and curriculum. I have noticed such an improvement in the area. There's still room for growth, but the fact that we talk about it openly, the fact that it's on many agendas, the fact that it's a very positive and proactive topic when we do talk about it does speak to the growth we've had over the years and the open-mindedness of administration and the Board of Ed to consider what the citizens bring forth. And just a lesson to the kids that if you want something, don't give up. Do it respectfully, advocate, and change is possible. So we're making some change in that area. Along the line of wellness, I would like to encourage that the curriculum committee, the school district, also consider a substance abuse prevention cycle class, including anti-vaping education at the middle school level, similar to cycle classes like Holocaust studies and digital footprints. I'd also like to encourage that more be done at the Chatham High School health class level about substance abuse prevention and also about vaping. This is in direct response to the student survey that came out a few weeks ago. And finally, I would like to encourage, if one does not already exist, a district-wide policy concerning e-cigarettes, vaping, and encourage that to perhaps be a zero tolerance policy for the health and well-being of the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Devlin. And Jack, she didn't mean you to speak up. She didn't mean that. Everybody else can speak up. Don't speak up. Sidebar. Kelly, cut right in there.
Hi, I'm Kelly Loofborough, and I'm the current coordinator of the Municipal Alliance Committee of the Chathams. And since vaping came up, well, three things. One, I wanted to thank you very much for letting us use the facility last week at the high school. We had 112 people show up for the opioid crisis to opportunity presentation, and the testimony of a Cornell student, a gentleman named Will, who is a Cornell student in recovery. His information was priceless and very valuable and powerful, and it's something that everyone should hear. So it was filmed by students, and so we'll get clips of it out and do whatever we can, because I think it's really valuable for all the parents to hear. That said, also, Jules, actually the purchasing age is 19 now as of January. And we're going around to the different stores and just make sure they know that. And everybody, all of this makes me really love our town. Everybody is so accommodating. Everybody does everything they can to help reduce whatever's going to happen, substances for underage kids. And they're really seeing it as 21. So one of the things that I wanted to note too is I've gotten lots of education on vaping lately, and Juuls, it should be noted, are really what most kids are choosing to use because they're very simple and they do look like technological devices. So they're very amiable and they do charge by going into your computer. And the thing that's interesting about them is there's no nicotine-free option with the Juul. So they're these little cartridges and all of them have nicotine. And so from a substance abuse standpoint, that's problematic. And we would love to see no one using them until at least after 19 years old. It's showing that if you wait till 19 years old for substance use, it has a significant reduction in any addiction issues later in life. So that golden age of 19. And then we also are going to focus on the fact that underage drinking really is the minority, not the majority of our students. And we're going to focus on that as a priority in helping the kids understand that they're in the majority if they're not drinking, and that the kids who are drinking, binge drinking is a significant problem. And so we're really going to be hitting it hard. And we're working with Lisa Lautarulo very closely. I really want to compliment the district. The SAC counselors are integral to our committee, show up every month, and are instrumental in really influencing the schools and what we're doing in the community. Very last thing is that we will have a vaping education booth at Fishwack. So I encourage everyone to come and see what they are, what they look like. They look like, some of them, little iPods. They're very easy to miss. So I hope everyone takes the time to learn.
Wow, thank you. I did attend the opioid presentation. It was unbelievable, and Will was really quite a hit. He really resonated with all the students and all the parents because he could have been any one of them in the audience. So I was hoping, Mike, we could bring Will-type people to the high school. This is a Cornell guy. He played, varsity sport, had everything going, and, couldn't, had trouble. He was in recovery since he was 20, I think he said, right, Kelly? Yeah. It's amazing. Hello, Mr. Heat.
Good evening, how are you?
Very good. Yourself? How are you tonight, Bill?
Okay. Bill Heap from Chatham Borough. Some JC announcements. Fishwack race is this Saturday. We hope everybody has already signed up. The fun run is at 9 o'clock and the more serious run at 9:30. The weather looks very good, so I hope you can all attend. It's a real town event and it kicks off Fishwack Day, which will be a day-long event. As a tie-in, one of the beneficiaries of the race is the ECLC. And I think it's great that the high school kids and ECLC go back and forth and visit each other. I think that's a terrific thing. I think the kids need to see how hard the ECLC kids try. I'm going to graduation on Friday night the 13th to hand out some scholarships, and it's just a terrific evening. So I really like the idea that the kids get to know one another. The second thing is our Distinguished Service Award, which is going to be held on June 20th, which is a Tuesday evening. We're going to honor Tony Britt, who has done just tons of stuff with Boy Scout Troop 8, as well as things in and around Chatham. I think he's Mr. Chatham. So, as I've mentioned before, this is the highlight of the Chatham social season. It's a place to see and be seen. You could rub elbows with politicians and celebrities, as well as the regular hoi polloi.
Where is
So it is going to be at the Myersville Inn, which is now called the Long Hill Tavern. Just changed recently, I guess. So everyone is welcome. It's Tuesday evening, 7 to 9. So please feel free to attend if you'd like. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Heath.
I mean, Bill, since you mentioned it, I'm just going to tell you that we started a tradition 3 years ago where the 8th grade boys and girls youth lacrosse team goes up and does an ECLC clinic every year as well. So all the kids from the Chatham teams go up and they host like an hour-long clinic. And there's, to me, we started 3 years ago and it's one of the best days we've ever had. We haven't tried to promote getting ECLC kids from Chatham to actually participate in the teams if we can, if they're capable of doing it. So it's not only at the high school, we've actually driven it down through the middle school as well. And there's a couple kids in this room that will tell you that they probably had one of the most eye-opening and amazing experiences the first day we did it, just being exposed to some of these kids and just seeing what it's like to be on the other, for kids that have disabilities, but also see, how lucky and they are. And so it's great that we do it all the way down through the middle school as well.
Thank you, Bill. And again, thank you for everything you do with the community.
I know our check presentation is a little later. Tracy Ness, Chatham Township, Jeffrey Court. But now that we've learned that the snack shack is going to be, and all that the whole field's going to be closed down, we have lots of stuff in the snack shack. So, what?
We'll take care of it.
But what I'd like to offer is it up to the, I don't know if you guys would like this, but if the workers would like it, if it's going to be hot, there's Gatorade, there's water, there's, it's up to you guys whether you want to do that. Otherwise, we'll dispose of it. But
Can you just move it to the new shack once it's built? Because we're not taking the old one down.
Are you going to leave the electricity on? Well, it depends on whether,
We can. I mean, they need power at the...
Tracy, we can hold offline on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I just
But
wanted to
that's
offer that
very
up.
generous of you. I would like to preserve it if we can.
Yeah, if it's, it's got a certain amount of shelf life, it'll last until the beginning of the season, but it's, it'd be helpful for the people who are there. Secondly, I'm assuming that Bill knows that everything is shut down as of tomorrow because football practices are supposed to kick off Monday.
Football.
Yeah. So I throw that out there.
Okay. Next Monday isn't summer yet.
No, I just,
Bill has been involved.
I just got a notice about it. I didn't think that they started until August officially, but they're saying football practice starts Monday. So.
Is the big check for later?
I don't know. When do you want me to do it?
Whenever you like.
Yeah, now would be good.
I thought we were waiting.
Oh, you...
I'm going to have a hard time getting that through the drive-in.
Just wait till you take it to the bank. Yes?
Yeah, like Will Ferrell. Take it to a big bank.
All right, here. This is too tall for me. I'm going to go this way. So, for 10 years plus, the boosters have been undergoing an effort to try and bring the lights to Cougar Field. And in addition with the Board of Education and our athletic director, all the way through, and we've been sitting on this money for quite some time, and we voted as a board with all of our officers to make use of that money, since we have a once in a 20 to 30 year chance of having this type of referendum at the Cougar Athletic Field. So on behalf of all of our previous officers, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to forget anybody, there are many people to thank, including past Booster Club presidents Joe Diaz
Saavedra, Jen Cosgrove, Paulinello, Rob Barnett, and especially all of our officers, current and past, and Jeff Dunn and Joel Boroff, who really led the effort during the litigation and brought it to the forefront, did all of the fundraising. Jen Cosgrove, who was a past president as well. We asked them to be here tonight, but unfortunately they couldn't be here tonight. Our current board, some of our current board members are here. April Wingate is the incoming president. She's our current vice president. Dana Browning, Carol Del Sandro, Mark Stewart, past treasurer. Who else is Dawn Avalone, Barney Barnett. I don't know if you Barney or Rob. Barney Barnett, Paul Anello. So we've got all of our fan favorites here. So what we're going to do tonight is repurpose those funds. And we'd like to thank everybody in the community who has agreed to repurpose those funds because they're quite significant. We'd also like to thank the Chatham Athletic Foundation, who has repurposed their $25,000 donation. Many years ago, when we did Shunpike Field, the boosters donated $25,000 to their effort, and they've now reciprocated in kind to help us with the Shunpike Field renovation. Specifically, we're going to be earmarking $25,000 for a new Cougar scoreboard, which will be lit up, and it'll have opportunity for advertising on the bottom, which will also offer us an additional revenue stream. And then we're going to donate the remainder of the money to increase the footprint of the Cougar Field Snack Shack, to do some build-ins to provide us with storage, much needed new equipment, maybe slightly fancier outside, some signage. I don't know. We'll see what we get out of it. But so tonight we're very pleased and we're very proud to be able to donate $99,600. So that's our big check. You want a big check? I just want to give another plug for the boosters in that the Chatham Athletic Boosters are the only fundraising organization for the high school. The Chatham Athletic Boosters fund K-8. The boosters take over at the high school level. Each year we donate between $80,000 and $90,000 a year to the district. $55,000 of that is coaching. And that extra coaching allows kids to participate in sports who don't want to be Martina Navratilova. Am I dating myself on that? Who don't want to be, no, you're Chris Everett. Thank you. I'm not that old. But I do know, but I did watch Chris Everett, so. But it expands their opportunity because when kids want to be on a team and they want to travel and you need to have more coaches, that's what gives us the opportunity to do that. It also helps us fund new sports, gives some sports some seed money, like you see all of the wonderful paddle players here today. It's been an extraordinarily successful program, spearheaded by parents. We give them some seed money, and it helps them along. Girls ice hockey, fencing, bowling, sailing has been a wonderful program that's been taken off. So it's not just the tried and true sports. It's letting kids find a sport that fits them and what they want to pursue, and that's really been a mission of the boosters over time. But if you think about it, $55,000 just for coaches is a lot of money to fundraise for every year. And it's very important. So thank you to everybody who has either donated their time, their money, their sweat equity, and there have been hundreds of people. So this check really represents 10 years of all of that. So thank you very much. We're very happy to give this to you.
This is phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, let's go out here. Let's make it official. I don't really like side shots. I'm going to say that. Come on, group.
I can sit up with Connors.
We're going to stand right here.
We'll have to Photoshop it in.
We'll Photoshop it.
I spent a lot of time doing this big check today. I know. Somebody has to be on this side.
Thanks, Carol.
Come on, Carol.
Yeah, Carol's got the real-
Look this way, smile.
Really, we can't thank you enough for your support. I know Mike has a few words he wants to say as well.
Yeah, I'll just say I feel badly that Rich Connors isn't here because I'm not joking. I think every single board meeting for 9 years in a row, he has made a pitch on behalf of the Booster Club. He's thanked the Booster Club just about every time he talks for all of their support and their generosity and the ongoing funding of our sports programs, the seeding of other programs that we haven't run before. So I'm sure Rich would have loved to have been here to accept this personally. And Tracy, you're exactly right. It's been 10 years. I remember Jeff Dunn very well, and Joel Boroff was just at the high school on Friday for a scholarship program. So it started way back then with those folks and my predecessor, Jim O'Neill, and it's been a long road, and you guys have just been a terrific, wonderful partner to the school district every year since I've been here, and it continues, and we can't thank you enough for making what was a referendum project even better and hopefully more sustaining for you all as we go forward long, long into the future. So thank all of you very, very, very much on behalf of the school district.
One more thing, and I apologize because I forgot Rich, because I thought he was going to be here tonight. Rich
He'll
Connors
mention it at next meeting that you forgot.
Yeah, he'll mention it to me, and yeah, I'll get chastised for it. But Rich Connors has been absolutely tremendous as a supporter of the Chatham Athletic Boosters, as has Bill Librera. Bill Librera has been an absolute pleasure to work with. He attends all of our meetings, gives us all of our sports updates, helps us with programs, helps us with the events that we run. A couple of times he's jumped into the shack with me when we've run out of volunteers and it's hot and we need to raise it up and do the water. I mean, he's just fabulous. So I have to give a big shout out to Bill as well. So there we go. Oh, don't get me started, Ed, because I will start on that.
Never say never, because we have a resident in Madison who comes to every meeting, so I always like to keep it on the table. Nothing's off the table.
No, we're going to go with with just the lights that we use for Cougar lights, and then potentially as sports teams go into the end of the season, whether we go into December or not, we'll continue to do that for the safety and well-being of our students if they need to train for extra season or, as the school board sees fit.
Yep.
I also want to give
a extra seasons. A lot of extra season.
There's a lot of extra season.
There are. Let's hope for more.
And I want to give a shout out to the paddle club who's going to be here tonight, and we fully support them and in their effort into becoming a sport, and we're happy to support them, and they've just done a wonderful, wonderful job.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Did you have something else? Any additional public commentary at this time? There's another opportunity at the end if something, no? Okay, seeing none, we're just going to move through the regular business agenda, and then there's another opportunity at the end for additional public commentary. So moving personnel, Lotta, would you mind in Ms. Ciccarelli's absence?
I would like to move action items A1 to A23 in the main agenda, and then and 23 to 25 on the addendum. I'm sorry, 24 and 25 on the addendum.
I'll second that.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for any of the personnel items? Ms. Grant loves questions. Any questions at all? She's been here for about 14 hours today, so she particularly likes questions today. No questions? Mr. Ducrell, would you mind?
Sure. Agenda items A1 to 23, agenda items A8, A24, A25. Mr. Gilfield?
Yes.
Mr. Arnoff?
Yes.
Ms. Cronin?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Abstain.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 5-0-1.
Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to finance and facilities, Mr. Gilfillan?
Yes, I'd like to move action items.
Oh, sorry.
You only want to abstain on the
17, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Matt, do you want to move finance?
Up to 16.
Pardon me, 16,
Got it.
thank you.
Okay.
You're doing summer maintenance?
Good job.
I know, he's got to pay the bills.
I have to pay the mortgage.
Times are tight, Matt.
Chatham,
Did you move finance?
I can move actions B1 through 17.
Second.
Just one more donation to say thank you since two awards have been brought up. Middle school PTO donation in the amount of $964 of a, aeroponic tower garden. No idea what that is, but it sounds neat. To be used for the school science classes and environmental club.
Does sound neat. Excellent. Does anybody have any questions on any of the financial facility items?
If I may clarify, the arrow,
Nobody likes to show off, but go ahead.
if I can pronounce it, the aeroponic garden is very similar to, if everybody's been Disney, where they do
the
the hydroponics,
hydroponics?
where it's kind of like a cylinder, and the water will flow through and provide the nutrients to the plants, and they kind of grow them in a, kind of like on a coat rack, if you want to look at it that way. An area about like the size of a coat rack.
Neat. Okay, excellent. No additional questions? Mr. DeQuilla, would you mind?
Nope. Agenda items B1 through B17. Mr. Gilfillan?
Yes.
Mr. Arnick?
Yes.
Ms. Cronin?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Kenny, would you mind moving curriculum as well for Ms. Clark?
Yes, I would like to move action items C1 and C2 for vote.
I'll second.
And here's where we have the new varsity sport, the paddle. The paddle is now going from a club to a varsity sport. I'm just curious, what do you all do with your sportswear now that's, it used to say the club? This could be a very expensive move. You might want to reconsider before we vote on this. All right, I can get behind that. Well, that means the kids are going to need all new sportswear. Does anybody have any questions on either 1 or 2?
Just want to thank the representatives from the Paddle Club for sitting through this long meeting, and especially Mr. Ivins for all of his explanations and patience with us as we've evolved the process over the course of the past year.
It's been fantastic.
My whole family fights over the hat, by the way.
What are the varsity jackets going to look like? Red velvet.
Please.
Red velvet. Have you moved your courts over to fishing game, or no? You still use multiple courts?
Multiple courts. These guys are going to give you a thank you and all those.
Oh, okay. I'll hold my questions. Okay, so let's move it first. Again, last opportunity, so you don't have to change your sportswear. All right, you're on board. Okay, very good. Mr. Tuquillo, would you mind?
Sure. Agenda items C1 and C2. Mr. Gilfillan?
Yes.
Mr. Arnick?
Yes.
Ms. Cronin?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. Last item is policy. Mr. Connors is not here, so I will move that. I make a motion to move D1
I'll second.
on the regular agenda on the use of school facilities. It's the first reading.
First and second.
It says first and second.
Yes, it does.
First, second, and adoption.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that particular policy? No? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 6-0. 0. Thank you. Now we have our first opportunity for board business. I do not have anything new to discuss. Anybody to my right?
Nope.
No? Very good. So now we have our second opportunity for public commentary, and I'm hoping to hear from some of the paddle guys and gals.
Hi, I'm Paul Ivins. I live in the borough. I've been the president of the paddle club for the last 2 years and the co-founder, and have had an absolute blast with it. And I just wanted to thank the boosters, the Board of Ed, and Mr. Librera for all their help through this entire process. First, making paddle into a club at the high school, and now into a varsity sport. Even though I won't be able to play next year because I'm going to college, I'm still happy to be a part of it and been able to experience making it what it is today. And now I'd like to introduce our first two co-captains of Chatham High School varsity paddle team, Heather Ivins and Colin Schroeder.
Hi, I'm Heather Ivins from Chatham Borough. I'm a sophomore at the high school, and I know we'll all miss Paul when he goes to college next year. And it would have been great to see him get a varsity letter for paddle, and beat him for that #1 spot on the team. I'd like to thank the Board of Ed and the entire Chatham community for all their support in turning the club into now a varsity sport. And I'd also like to thank Noe Pond Club and Fish and Game for letting us use their course for free next season, which is huge. And I'd also like to thank all of the Chatham High School kids who came today to support us, and it's great to see them just as excited as we are. Now, Colin Schroeder.
Hi, I'm Colin Schroeder. I also live in the borough. I'd like to give a few thanks to Mr. Kai, the Chatham supporter for our club, and also Patty Hogan and Greg Morgan, the coaches for the club. And I'd also like to thank the Board of Education for all your support for what you've done for our club. And I'd also like to thank the parents who have helped us through the past 2 years, with everything. And can't wait for this sport to turn into a varsity sport.
Thank you, Colin. It seems the borough was quite well represented on that panel that spoke. I'm not sure where you township folks are hiding your paddle players, but thank you for all of your hard work. And I know you work with the middle school students as well. And I wish you luck in building the program throughout the state into a varsity sport. Somebody has to be first. It's not surprising that it's the Chatham students that brought this up first, so well done. Any additional public commentary before we close the meeting? We will have an executive session after this. No action will be taken. No? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm not asking opposed. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Drive safely. Thank you.